Hi, I'm Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg, and this is the Dawg Pound. Oh, this crew is back fresh from Digital Dealer. Most of us, great.
I'm still
week,
a little tired. Let everybody else be fresh.
Oh, it was a great conference. First one I've been to in a while. I enjoyed it no end. Today we're going to talk about a continuation of the speech I did at Digital Dealer. I had a subject: 20 things a dealership must change post-pandemic. You know, the pandemic is still with us and the disruptors won. Okay, now that the disruptors have won, we've got to change with it. And right now we're seeing the disruptors crashing hard, and especially the two biggest. Anyway, today, our regular panelists and our guest panelists, starting out with Max Zanan. I started to say it, Max. Max, where are you today?
I'm in Las Vegas at the Agent Summit conference for F&I providers.
Say I don't recognize that wall.
Okay.
I was just thinking the same thing.
in a
Like, did you
hotel
decorate?
I left the conference to be here.
Thank you for joining
I am
us.
so impressed. You're so impressed. And one of my old friends, I knew him before he went gray. I'm telling you, dealer teamwork. Hey, listen, I might be gray. I have no idea. Sean Stapleton.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to see you and great to see everybody else. Digital Dealer was awesome. I'm excited about this episode.
This ought to be a really fun broadcast. And another old friend of mine, DealerOn, my good friend Bill Wittenmyer. Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Great to be here. Great to see everybody again. Bobby and Jennifer, as always. April, and then, of course, my very long good friend, almost as long as you, Jim. Sean and I have been in the trenches for more than 2 decades. And so I had a funny recollection. We were going back and forth before this yesterday. And it was there was one time between the old Elite original crew and the old Vin crew where it was like a scene out of West Side Story in a bar in New Orleans. Do you remember that, Sean?
Yeah, I think I was
waiting for. Yes, I
think I was there.
It was the Jets and the Sharks, and I swear to God, I was ready for Sean to start singing, "When you're a Jet, you're a Jet."
Unbelievable.
Were there Irish car bombs involved?
Yeah, I didn't start my rental car that day. I let somebody else do it.
Okay, as we renew old acquaintances and take up half the show here, we got to get from the Horn Automotive Group, April Simmons, the star of Digital Dealer. This woman was everywhere. Everybody talking about her T-shirt. How you doing, kid?
You know, I'm having a fantastic week. I'm still a little tired playing catch up, but my to-do list is getting check marked off, so we're going all right. But I do have to give a shout out to Bobby because she definitely killed the costume wearer, though. If everyone takes a picture, we need to show it because she definitely killed it. It was awesome to see, and it was so super fun, and just looking forward to continuing the conversation today.
Everybody, Digital Dealer said, "Hey, who's the smart girl?" Okay.
We said she's ours. We got her.
Okay, I got 3 of the most brilliant women in automotive right here in front of us right now. And speaking of brilliant women in automotive or brilliant persons, I'm getting so socially correct, aren't I, Bobby? Anyway.
And I get a trophy. Somebody got me a trophy.
Oh, golly. Jennifer Briggs. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim. Listen, as long as my commission checks keep rolling in, I don't care what you call me. I think that makes me the ultimate car person.
Oh, you're not one of those liberation Nazis. I mean,
Now I think someone's supposed to say pineapple when Jim says
good job. Yeah, I got a lot of feedback at Digital Dealer about how Jim Ziegler said you gave him a safe word on stage. I said yes.
No, I have a safe word, but the real safe word's one that Debbie knows.
That's right. Different kind of safe word. Different kind of safe word.
Different.
Okay. And I think I walked over the line a couple times at Digital Dealer. Back and forth shit.
We own that website now, backandforthshit.com. I bought it while you were on stage. We'll be doing something very cool with it shortly.
Did you hear that, Bill?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, people say at a dealership, they'll say, "Well, look, I want your best price right now, and I don't want any of that back and forth shit between you and the manager." Okay, sir, you don't want any of that back and forth shit. You're paying full price? No, then you just created some back and forth shit.
I'm really excited to see what I'm gonna do with this website. I'm kind of
Oh my God. And of course, the queen of BDC, Bobbie Herron. Hi, kid.
Hello. I was sad you didn't stay longer at Digital Dealer. I left to go dress as Batman, and when I came back, you were already gone. And I was like, what just happened?
Oh,
You were supposed to be here.
I promised Miss Debbie, you know,
I know.
Since the cancer, I've got a lowered immunity, and I'm a big crowd like that. I told Debbie I would be in and out. We did that.
Oh, I know, because you didn't answer your phone. I called your wife.
I was on the big
stage
at Digital Dealer. I talked about 20 things a dealership needs to change. I'm going to start out with Sean Stapleton. Sean, what did I leave out?
I think the biggest thing you left out was digital marketing has changed dramatically, right? The biggest thing I keep hearing is the number of dealers that are stopping their advertising. Well, the biggest issue right now with inventory is consumers finding what you have, and they've somehow gotten a little wacky, right? You got to have your inventory online, whether it's new inventory, used, your CPO, or your special order process, because people are still looking to buy cars every single day. They hear on the news that cars are really expensive. So include your payment, your APR, your specials, your OEM offers. Because the number one thing is you can't buy what you can't find, and help me understand what it's going to cost me to own that piece of inventory. So using new marketing campaigns, identifying your audiences, well run, reduce waste. Find things that are working, create lookalikes, and market and maximize those audiences.
Bill Wittenmyer, what did I leave out?
It's tough to say anything that you left out. Maybe explode on a few other things. One of the things that I really liked to touch on was in the BDC, and I think the ability to go further in the deal. And I think one of your topics and pieces was, you know, the BDC manager is a sales manager. I agree with that. I think we need to take that a step further. It's like, why do we want to draw this customer and spend all that money to get them to us via phone or internet or digital advertising or all these other different things? Then we get on a phone, we want to set up another appointment to push them off at a time. And look, speed kills deals. So, you know, if we've got them right there in the opportunity, you know, much like in any of the companies I've ever been, it's always about, can I do the demo now? Like, we don't need to set another further time. And I think the same thing should be done in the BDC, whereas, hey, can we take you further down the shopping process now, whether it's using a DR tool or any of the other great technology that's out there? Let's empower the BDCs to go a little bit further, if not all the way. There's no reason, and you touched on this too in another part, which is not have that one touch, right?
Well,
wherever
Bill,
they're coming in from.
Bill, I'm going to tell you right now, if I were a dealer, if I bought your dealership today, I would give my BDC manager, whatever that title is, complete authority, not only to make a deal, but to overrule the sales manager and to be totally autonomous. My BDC would be a totally autonomous department.
I would not disagree with that. I would, however, put in some pretty stringent measurement process to make sure that they're executing, right?
Yeah.
Wait, more stringent than we actually do regular sales managers?
No, I mean from a deal aspect.
Is that a thing?
I meant from a deal aspect. No, there's always scrutiny on that. I think scrutiny's wrong. I think measurement's great. And what I'm talking about in terms of, you know, measuring, okay, the deal process, how are we doing, where the gross is at, right? The fears that are going to come from the other aspects of the dealership, and having proof positive to come back and say, hey, look, we're doing really good things in here. And here's the proof to the pudding, right? We're getting the same or not more gross. Our trades are holding, you know, more than you are. We're closing the deal down faster because we're not pushing them away. We've got them here. Maybe even our CSI is higher because we're not taking all that time, right? We've got that one seamless touch process. We're not putting them off to the other thing. I think there's some really positive reporting and measurements that could come back out of that.
Bobby, jump in there.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think that if you're hiring, and for sales managers listening, I'm not talking about you, you're already a sales manager. I'm saying going forward, I don't think it makes sense to put somebody in a sales manager position unless they have a BDC manager background, period. Because if you can't teach your sales team how to effectively communicate
And an
and how to
F&I
convert an
background.
opportunity, then you don't have the skills necessary going forward in a more progressive environment. And if you're already a sales manager, get your ass back in the BDC and spend some time back there so that you can learn what's happening in your one team moving in one direction. Same for a GSM. If you're right now, 20 things you need to do this year is if you're hiring a GSM, they better have a marketing background and a BDC background, or you're doing it wrong. We're moving forward, not trying to figure out what's wrong with the past.
Yeah. If you can only
It's a
pick
huge
one,
deal.
pick the BDC background.
Yeah, but I really think that you need to, I don't see why we can't have an opportunity to have both, because if you're in a lot of stores, you're going to find that most of the time the marketing director doesn't have marketing experience. They're the BDC director who self-learned and now is partners with the vendors and learning all the time and going to the conferences.
Yeah,
Bob?
I think the difference with our sales managers, and I agree, because we have it as part of our internal management training programs. If you want to promote to GSM, you have to be fully trained as an internet sales / BDC manager, no matter what the structure is at the store. But where I see so many, and this is going to combine both Sean and Bill's comments, where I see so many dealers flubbing up in trying to be better, is making knee-jerk reactions on marketing before they look at their processes and their people. Hence why I said, if you can only choose one for that new manager that you're hiring, look at that BDC background. Look at that, because that will help you to squeeze more juice instead of just throwing the bathwater out, or the baby out with the bathwater, and not really helping.
What are these things called again? Idioms that you're always using, that book you bought me so I can figure it out. Like, who says throw the baby out with the bathwater? Only Jennifer.
I say that one all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I legit had to buy that woman a book of idioms so she could translate what I was saying.
Because I'm from Michigan.
Oh my gosh. April Simmons. April, what did I leave out?
So, you know what, honestly, I want to piggyback kind of what everyone just said there. I think there's a hybrid approach in here, and sometimes you don't have to go from 0 to 1,000. And when I look at what has worked for us and been successful, I started in finance, then I went to the desk. Having a finance background made me a better desk manager. Then I went from the desk to internet and understanding how to do deals. They empowered me to make deals. So the only thing I'm really going to disagree with you, Jim, is these 20 things post-pandemic. This isn't post-pandemic. This is stuff we should have been doing for the last 10 years. And some of us have been doing it. We're just using the pandemic as the catalyst to actually finally do the things that we should have been doing for a very long period of time.
You mean that's like the whoopee for everyone who's been asleep and not efficient?
Right. And so, and I'm fine with it, because some of the stuff that I'm excited about getting the ability to now do that I've wanted to do for the last, 5 years or been fighting for, that I couldn't get somebody to say okay to, now because everyone's moving in that direction, I'm able to. And most of those things have been foundational things, right? It's been foundational things in the process. And I talked a lot about process at Digital Dealer because I'm super passionate about that. I do think that it takes the people, the technology is important, but the technology is not going to work if you don't have people in the process. But
April, I can show you in writing 10 years ago when I was already advocating giving the BDC management full authority and autonomy.
Yep.
It's not something I just started doing last week.
And it works. And you know what? I tell you what, when I had sales managers starting to push back because they didn't want, those BDC numbers and their numbers, guess what happened? The GM came in and said, well, then she can just put all those deals in my name because she's not stopping. Because they realize there's a difference between, gross and profit. And when you start to look at the big picture of things, you understand it all, you understand how important your BDC departments are. And so it was super, it was a super exciting time for us to start to learn that. And then I started learning marketing. So I don't even have a marketing background. Most people are surprised by that.
No, but you started learning it, right? Because that's what happens in that position in the dealership. That's exactly what happens.
April,
wait a second now. Matt, let's keep moving.
Max in.
More subjects. Max, I said, and people fell out of their seats. We had smelling salts and had to bring in the EMTs and carry people out of my lecture because I said that I believe that dealerships need to go one price.
They do need to go one price, and as a matter of fact,
I actually attributed that to you, by the way.
thank you. As a
It
matter
was
of
like
fact,
you were there.
they are one price in parts and service, right? So you just got to make a leap of faith and get into sales and F&I one price.
Why? I know why, but tell me
Well,
why.
because today's consumer has been conditioned by Amazon and by Apple to do one price. And it's the same consumer who's overpaying on everything at Amazon, right? For the convenience and
I
transparency.
definitely overpay on Amazon for the
Well,
convenience.
that was
Right.
not my
All day.
reasoning, Max.
Wine and prime.
My reasoning was basically, if you're going to do digital retail, you've
Of
got
course.
to be one price. I mean,
Correct. You have to
and
be
the
you have to
distrust.
be able-
Let me talk a second first. Okay. Anyway, to do
He's
digital
sassy
retail.
today.
I'm feisty. Digital retail requires one price, and consumers distrust dealerships that have an internet price and an in-showroom negotiation, and we're going to wiggle in the trade, and it goes all over the place. So now you can speak, Max.
Thank you. If you want to do digital retail, you have to be able to put something in a shopping cart, right? You can't put a negotiated price in a shopping cart. Whether it's, an item on Amazon and a dealership, whether you're buying parts or a car or an F&I product. And I think the negotiation actually takes away the credibility of the whole thing at this point. Right?
I never would have said that 10 years ago.
Me
5
neither.
year ago.
Me neither.
2
Me
years
neither.
ago.
But
I was a negotiator. I invented the Foursquare.
right. But
So,
listen, we evolved.
I'm
with the
going
times.
to greatly disagree because I believe the consumers still want to win. Now, is there a segment that would trust without shaking someone's hand and looking them in the eye to contract for 70 grand? Sure. There are a few of them out there, but the majority of people, when they're making the second largest financial decision of their life, wants to actually be able to participate in it. Now, have I purchased a car online before? Yeah, but that was like a gajillion years ago on eBay, not what we're talking about right now. And I think the majority of dealers are failing at digital retailing. So what are we doing? We're pretending
Oh, absolutely.
that we're forward thinking and we're creating even more friction in the process. And good for Walzer and good for Schomp and all of these organizations that have been able to pull off one price. But I'll tell you, even in my Land Rover dealerships, those folks want to win in a price negotiation. And so negotiation doesn't mean you're not transparent. It doesn't mean have a different price here or a different price there. It's just part of the process, right? When you make an offer on a house, it's an offer. And even some of these digital retailing tools will let them change the price. How does that work? I just disagree. I don't think the majority of consumers are ready to buy a car that way. And I've been saying that for 9
He's
years.
fired up today too.
Jennifer, you know for a fact that I have always respected your right to be right.
You know what? And you also,
Jennifer, did you hear him?
are very respectful of data. And everybody wants to talk about these disruptors, but the percentage of market share is not in their favor. And does that mean that it's always going to be that way? No.
Well,
But
can we
I
clarify
think-
something?
And why are they failing? Because the consumers
Can I
aren't
get a
playing.
clarifier? Because sometimes our word usage is different than what it means. So what I hear you saying, Jennifer, is that the customer still needs to be able to negotiate and have a win, but transparency up front is equally as important. And Jim, what I hear you saying is, when you're saying one price, is not that we're structured as a one price dealership where you don't have an option to do something different, but that what we say online and what we say in the showroom, those are transparent and they match. Is that correct?
I can meet you there. I could believe that. Bill
Switzerland.
Wittenmyer shaking his head. Bill, where are you?
I think Jennifer is spot on. I think if COVID showed us anything over those 2 years, consumers were banging down the doors in a pandemic to get into the dealership. I mean, literally, it's the exact opposite happened. If we all thought that digital retail was going to be that next unicorn, it's like COVID came around and said, yeah, go ahead, think twice, buddy. The only ones that it ever made any difference were the states that shut down completely. And oh, by the way, you couldn't deliver the car anyway, so it became completely moot. And to the point earlier, you know, the service piece, I mean, just think about service content on websites. It's less than 10%, right? I mean, you know, the majority of the profit of the dealership, and still to this day, I think we've climbed in the last decade from like a 3% content of service on our websites to less than 10%. It's like there's so many other areas in the last.
Well,
little
you saw
nugget
that.
to
You
throw
saw
out
that
there.
in my slide deck, didn't you? About
and
that we need to have
there's
a whole
bigger
website,
problem coming.
Whole website dedicated to service, a page after page after page, like we do with sales.
Here's a bigger problem that is the plague of our business since at least I've been in, which is 30 years, and it's back to process improvement, training, and measurement. And I'm not a 100%. Training company, so I have no money and no dollars.
I am, so you can call me. And you can
all
call
day.
her.
So here's the thing, though. Think about all the new people that have come into the business just with normal attribution, and then you add in the people who couldn't go to work and needed to find work. So then you have Burger King sales for the last 2 years. No offense, I am the happiest guy in the world that the dealers finally had the tables turned on their favor for the last 24 months. But I was been the last 28 years when it was not in my favor, and I was battling uphill. So enjoy it while it lasts, because it never does. And so we've had Burger King sales, which is, you know, do you want fries with that order? You know, we've got a huge mountain climbing, because if we think that we're going to go to this order delivery system like they have in Europe, no time soon.
Wasn't Burger King's tagline "Have it your way"? I don't know if this is going to if that works.
Being in Detroit about 4 weeks ago, speaking at the University of Michigan, I drove by 4 or 5 plants, and they were stacked like cordwood out there. Both GM and Ford trucks, as far as the eye could see, waiting on chips, because as soon as they get them, they're going to start shipping them. All that is to say, we have a huge opportunity where we're going to have a bunch of people that have been making a bunch of money without a lot of work. Yes, it's still effort, and I acknowledge that, and I appreciate that. But it's not the way it was 5 years ago, or in 2007 or 2008, when we were really struggling to try to sell cars. And so there's going to be a huge process and training opportunity here for people to go out there. And we don't have our arms wrapped around it. I think some of the very progressive dealers are doing that now, you know, while the inventory is still light, while the size of the employee level is still light, and they're getting ahead of that curve. But when those cars start coming, Jim, as you well know, they're going to start coming.
We've talked about that in other shows, Bill. I'll tell you right now, the first time Ram gets market share over one F-150, the first time the Dodge Ram or the Ram gets superior market share, all that built-to-order crap's out the window. The first time Stellantis conquers the truck market, because they're not playing.
Well, we're in
Stellantis
an area
is not messing around either. They had a heavy presence at Digital Dealer.
They sure did.
I think that really, I mean, you're going to see that Ram 1500. I think you'll see that scenario a lot sooner than you think, Jim.
Well, guess what else? I said something at Digital Dealer, part of my 20 things a dealer needs to do. Everybody brace yourself. I said we need to fire all of our vendors and renegotiate every contract. Because I know for a fact, I talk to hundreds, if not thousands of dealers on the keyboard or on the telephone every month. And you got major vendors that are charging one dealer one price and another dealer a drastically different price for identical services. Now, TrueCar, about 7 or 8 years ago, TrueCar said, find out what other consumers paid. Well, I think it's time dealers found out what other dealers paid for the same services with the vendors.
Well, I offer that service, so you didn't even know that, but that's some company. That's what we do. We do.
You know, it's cool. It's when I
so you can call me and I'll tell you if you're paying the right rate.
To the to the website side, we've got 30 OEM programs where it's identical across the board. So
I know you do.
There's no negotiation on that. It's a really interesting dynamic in moving. I know Sean is very familiar with that and a lot of things that he does.
I'm not gonna, Bill. I'm not gonna name any vendors, coxcars.com. But anyway, I'm not gonna mention any vendors, but they have different prices for just about everybody.
Just like Bill said, Jim, any OEM partner that we're part of, they can go to their portal and click on it. I can't magically change the numbers. They've been negotiated for a while and they're there. Matter of fact, most of them don't even sign up with me. They sign up directly with the OEM.
100%.
Button, and we get an email that says, "Hey, Bill Wittenmyer Chevy just signed up." Like, woo!
Yeah.
You know?
Then I get 13 salespeople that all try to claim it. Oh no, I
Yeah.
talked to that guy, which is why we use our CRM really heavy. But that's a whole other discussion.
Right.
My good friend Kenneth.
Jim, let me say something, because I think when you talk about vendors, you talk about vendors. I want to put a different spin on it. If I'm a dealer, right, I'm going to tie this into F&I, because this is where I make money, and this is where majority of dealers make their money as well. You have to renegotiate your contracts with OEMs. You need to wake up and stop selling OEM prepaid maintenance. Stop selling OEM VSCs, right? Get your stuff together. Either reinsure, form a dealer-owned warranty company. You know, within 10 years.
Max. I said that at Digital Dealer and attributed it to you. They need to white label their maintenance. Don't white label Gap right now. But anyway,
I think the lesson that comes from both of the things that are being said for everybody listening, the lesson that comes from that is you need to evaluate your current partnerships, what they provide. And if it is in a situation where during a pivot from COVID, you're still a good partnership, because what works for one dealership, whether it's variable or fixed, does not always work for another. It depends on the process and the people and how you motivate the people inside of there, which is why you can't go to 20 groups and say things like, who you using? They're awesome. Give it to me. Like, we're an industry of narcissists. Of course, you're going to go to a meeting and be like, we're fucking killing it. Like, no, you're not.
Well, and you said a really key
Evaluate
partnership. There's a real big difference between a vendor and a partner.
Absolutely.
And dealers know that, because they do have separate buckets of, this is a partner with me and this is a vendor. And one is very disposable and the other has a symbiotic relationship inside that organization. I think that's really key to identify.
It is. And just evaluation is key.
Trust, right? The big difference between a vendor and a partner is trust.
It's trust. It's
and that comes through
execution.
execution.
What you expect, right? Like, are you firing a vendor just to fire a vendor, but you actually don't know what they're doing for you? Like, if your only metric of deciding whether somebody's value or not is whether
April, I didn't say fire and not rehire.
Every day is an interview, people. Every day is an interview.
One thing I said, and everybody tune in with where I'm coming from here. One thing I said is every dealer needs to look at every vendor that knocks on their door, because a lot of you guys and women out there are using obsolete technology that will
There's such cool new stuff out right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, but there's a gatekeeper. COVID. There's a gatekeeper. I'll call her Old Maud. Old Maud is not going to let anybody get to the dealer.
No, there is a gatekeeper, but there are also a lot of charlatans out there. So I think you need to have an approach to where you're evaluating new products, whether it's 1 day per week. And I have gatekeepers, but if you make it to my gatekeeper, what they are going to tell you, no matter which store they're at, is, Jennifer's not in the office today. Why don't you send her an email and tell her in that email why you would add value to what we do as a partner, not just an advertising product.
Oh, Jennifer, no.
Oh, yes. And then I schedule them all on one
and have real conversations.
So I'm not wasting.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to send them. Tell the gatekeeper about your business.
No, they're not going to tell the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is going to
put it in an email. No.
Listen.
Put it in an email. No.
Are you on the Get Jennifer Fired Up program? Did you and Max switch personalities today? What's going on here?
My face goes red to match my hair. But let's think about what our marketing directors and our managers have to do. It's a time efficiency, Jim. You're talking about renegotiating rates. We are talking ultimately about the bottom line. streamline and being efficient. And if I want to schedule all my new product reviews for one day, I'm looking at tech and I'm.
Oh, by the way, Patrick O'Brien said that's BS too.
He added that at a different point. No, he added that at a different point in the conversation. I think that Jennifer's right that like what I do with all of the demos and all the products that I look at for clients and that I evaluate for clients is I set up days that I do full days of demos.
There you go. There you go.
That's what she said. What I tell them though is this: come to the meeting prepared. I'm giving you my time. I don't want your generic slide deck. I want a real conversation. About show me that you took the time to research one of my clients or just an
I'm not saying that the dealer, hear me out. I'm not saying that the dealer principal or the general manager even needs to do the initial interview with the vendor or the prospective vendor, but somebody needs to hear their whole pitch and not send me an email or send me a synopsis or explain to the gatekeeper.
I'm sorry.
I used to have gatekeepers say to me,
I'm sorry, but there's too many coming at us. There's no way in the world like I could actually field the calls, let alone go to the next step. So all I want to say is, do you care about trying to sell me enough to send me an email? And if you send me an email and you don't spark enough, then I might take that email and say, hey, I'm going to send it out to the LinkedIn of the world and say, what do you know about this company, right? Does anybody else use them?
Right.
Like, I'm going to get feedback, and I'm going to do a little bit of work before I'm going to commit 30 minutes or an hour to hearing them blah 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 and find out it's nothing I want to use. So
a couple of really good points here. There were some really good points. Agenda, by the way, Bobbie, 100%. There were two things that I had to change in this new organization. That was getting an agenda. Look, preparation eliminates pressure. It's very simple. And at the end of the day, I need to prove to you that you mean what you really mean to me. And I took time to do the research, right? Your time is valuable. The second thing is PowerPoints, put them away. If you're going to a PowerPoint, you open up the laptop, you're going to yawn, you need to do live demos. Two critical things that were just mentioned here that I don't want to gloss over. The last one, and I'll be quiet, which is there's a lot of pandemic in this, which is emails and calls and this and that. 30 years, buddy, you know what we do? We went and knocked on the doors, and if we couldn't get into the front, I'd go talk to the service manager. You know why? Because nobody talks to the service manager, and he'll talk or she'll talk to anybody. Start back there. That's your first preview of the day.
So, Patrick, we're going to call out Patrick for a minute with his nonsense right now. Home slice, because it is not the same thing. I am a partner. I am a vendor that owns a marketing agency, and I stand on the side of the dealer to evaluate the other vendors on their behalf and then train internally. So I can't have 200 marketing clients on my agency and all their vendors calling me up trying to talk about it because they feel like it. If you want my time, you're going to earn it. But in respect, when you earn it, I will give you 100% of my attention during the time I committed to. And that doesn't happen everywhere else. And me telling a vendor that they have to go through some BS to get to me isn't BS. My time is a priority and I don't owe it to anybody unless I choose to give up to them. That's some consent level shit right there.
Every time I've ever demoed you or shown you a product, if
Patrick, you know, if you talk to me like that, you're going to need a safe word.
Yeah, I get eaten alive. If I'm not prepared to support you and get to you and get to the point right away, I get eaten alive. The thing that people also understand is you got to respect the dealers. They get a million people pitching them stuff all the time. They do. So you got to be precise and you got to solve their problem. And then you got to listen to what their needs are. You just can't talk over them.
And be prepared. Know who you're talking to. You know, back to the generic stuff. It's like, be prepared. Again, all of us probably receive a million solicitations on any time trying to get in our companies. I took one, and it was this year. I won't say the company, but I have engaged with them. They looked into my social media. They had pictures of my dogs. They sent a doggy care package to my house. It got a little creepy at one point because I'm like, how did you figure out which house I was at the ones that are out there? But I was like, dude, I'm going to give you a shot. You took that much preparation. You've earned 15 minutes. Now, if you blow it in that 15 minutes, that's on you, bro. But I'm going to give you the 15 minutes.
Let me tell you a story. I was in Boston. Ernie Bach. Now, Ernie Bach is no longer personally in the business. Ernie Bach Jr., the musician dealer with all the, a million dealerships in Boston. So I walk in, I'm sitting in this room in his warehouse. And here comes Ernie Bach with 5 of his general managers. They sit down. I mean, they come in like a military troop. He said, I'm Ernie Bach. Anytime you start to repeat yourself, anytime I've heard it before, anytime you get redundant, you're out of here. Start. I mean, he goes through this whole speech.
My favorite is if you're going to start out your slide telling me you're turnkey, you might as well pack it up and leave.
Exactly.
I always just wish that, like, I prefer a conversation with somebody. So what I don't like, and maybe like vendors listening, what I don't like is this. There's a lot that I know a lot about, and there's a lot that I don't know a lot about. Everything that I know when it comes to marketing, BDC process, I learned alongside my partners. They taught me, they put things into me. In respect, they didn't give me. Sean has been one of my mentors for a very long time. He taught me a lot in the industry.
I've learned a lot from Sean as well.
He was the first person who pushed me inside of a camera. Sean pushed me in front of an automotive news camera well before I got 40 Under 40. And although Jen is my best friend, Sean was my first call when I got 40 Under 40. And you know why? Because he didn't ask me for anything in return of all the things that he taught me. I fired him several times from accounts. I flew into Atlanta when he was with Vin and kicked a door down over a PM. It was not an easy relationship, but there's mutual respect. So we work together on it. I wish that the vendors who are trying to sell me things now would stop just assuming I know everything that I know and instead show me what they're working with. Because what I don't like is,
that's back to
you know how that
turnkey
works.
comment.
You know how that works.
That
Right,
turnkey
like-
comment's really, really key, because I think you add an asterisk to that. Some dealers may want that, not
Well,
the
don't
best
start
one.
with it on slide 1. That's not the value
Right, no,
you have.
totally,
to bring.
totally agree. Totally
Before we move on, I mean, this has been a spirited part of the session.
I'm feeling
But
sassy
anyway,
today.
One of the things that I said on the stage at Digital Dealer, after the speech was over, here comes Chip Perry, pushing people aside to get to me. I mean, here comes Chip Perry.
Well, that's because you owed him money.
No. If I owed him,
I didn't even stay and take an after picture because Jim had so many people going like this to get to him. I was like, nah, I'm family. I'll take a picture with them later.
Okay, but the point is, Chip Perry is with A to Z Sync. And about 7 or 8 months ago, A to Z Sync hired me. They all flew into Atlanta, and I had an F&I seminar to put into their program because F&I was the one little piece they hadn't gotten. But one thing I did say at Digital Dealer is we need to consider one touch, one salesperson, and that is not a management-less system. There are managers in the background, but managers become shadows. They don't. The customer doesn't see the managers. It appears that the salesperson is handling the whole deal, one touch. Walzer does it. Schomp does it. CarMax does a version of it. So I am to the point now where I'm leaning toward that. I mean, remember,
I feel
I've
like
got
that's a bigger
videos-
deal than you advocating one price.
I've got
I
videos
want to get a neuro
online.
exam done real quick.
There are
gotta
videos
tell that
online
here.
with
We
over
need a
a
doctor's
million
appointment.
hits. Videos online with over 1 million views of me teaching Foursquare. I mean, so that's
It's a big
major
dynamic change,
change
but
that
you're known
I
for
would
saying
say
it
that.
over. Here's the thing, though, just like with any product, process, people, any of the things that make us great, it depends on the culture. It depends on what's happening in the store, because a one-price dealership that doesn't actually mean it when you get to the store is going to end up turning away more customers. Their closing averages are going to drop. It's just like with BDC. We say, do a VIP appointment process when the customer gets there. But if the BDC is telling a customer to expect something, and the customer shows up and the salesperson doesn't deliver on that expectation, we know based on data and KPI that closing ratios go down, not up. Now, given that same example, when people follow through and show consistency in an industry where we already lack trust from the consumer, there's a huge rise in closing percentage. That's why one model doesn't work for everybody.
I said
because not
consider
everybody is
it. I
doing
didn't
the same.
say everybody needs to go to it.
No, I'm
Hang on,
agreeing
one
with
second.
you.
If you're
I'm
going
agreeing
in,
with you.
Max said it earlier. Go all in. April said it. You can't
Go
be
hard.
halfway.
Right,
Go
you
all
can't be
in.
half pregnant.
Go in for new. Go in for
Yeah.
used. Go in for fixed ops. Go in for F&I. Max, I agree with
Yeah.
you. Become the Amazon of the car business.
But do
Right?
it
Is there
right.
something you
That
think
I don't agree with at all. Sorry.
Okay. The reason why I want to do this, I should be able to go online and see the menu of what things cost. So many people are going to make their decision with this right here.
Well, service
Right?
hours would be
Yes,
so much better if that was the case.
Yes and no. So I'm y'all gonna get me feisty now. Bring it
No,
up.
look,
Come on,
April's a
kid.
digital dealer. Now she's like, that's
Actually-
right, I'm taking y'all on.
I'm gonna tell you, during the pandemic, we never closed down. And James knows this. James Klaus, he was the one person I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I said, look, if anyone else says the word digital retailing to me this month, I'm gonna go pick them up, put them in my car, drive them to my office, and put their head through my wall. And I'm gonna tell you what, because I've
It's a lot
been
of
doing
work.
digital retailing for a decade, okay? Digital retailing is not about selling the Amazon way. People are not buying cars A to Z online. through
No, they're not.
and
No,
the
they're not. No,
very
they're
small
not.
percentage. It's
You're
all
right.
customer experience, and where
The
the
customers are
customer
not pulling the trigger.
broken
Best digital retailing tool on the planet right there.
Pick up the phone.
1,000,000%. So here's where the key comes in. I'm going to tell you, because I've been dealing with the pitfalls for a decade. This isn't something new. Here's where it is. You bring everybody in. You have your digital retailing tool fired. You look at it. You see where the process is. Be a customer. Go online. Try to buy a car. You'll find what it looks like then in your CRM. You'll find what the salespeople are seeing. You'll figure out then how to sell those cars. And maybe it is one price, depending on where you live. For me, that's not going to work. Depending on your backyard, it might work. So you have to do some trial and error and then reassess and try again. But baton tossing is the most important thing. Seeing what the customer sees so you know how to talk to the customer is the most important part of it all.
And
Now,
I
and now
Yeah, I think
to
too many of the
it's an
DR
aggressive
tools.
growth strategy.
real quick, so to add
Yeah.
on to that, with what Jim is talking about with considering A to Z, and I only have one store that is A to Z, but you should consider components. If your tools aren't allowing your sales professionals and your desk to communicate without having to abandon the customer, you're doing something wrong. Or if your sales team isn't empowered to make those small decisions, like I know the first store I ever worked at, they had a $300 leeway, whether that was throwing in floor mats or doing a bump on a trade, they had power. And that's because we were a Cadillac store and we learned from Ritz-Carlton, if you empower your staff to serve the customers, people don't question your price.
$300 bump today is a half a tank of gas.
In your Raptor for sure.
But that's the thing, right? Like, so what Patrick just said, just pick up the phone, stop calling them leads. This came from a training that I did for years where we used behavioral analysis and constructive reinforcement as a trigger to get people to stop calling people leads, because it starts with a mindset. Right? It doesn't matter what else you have going on in the dealership.
Oh,
yes, you can bring all the traffic
pineapple
you
yourself,
want.
I'm telling you.
Absolutely not. It does. I'm telling you what. Listen, as a single woman in the world right now, I can tell you, mindset matters. If you think of a
Stop calling
person as a
people leads.
human.
Quit it. That's so warm.
Stop
and
calling
fuzzy.
people leads. You know it makes me crazy. But it's because a customer is not a lead. An opportunity that comes in from a digital marketing vendor, until you engage with them, go ahead and call them a lead. You haven't spoken with them yet. You haven't talked to them yet. But the minute you start engaging and having a conversation and you think of them as a lead is why you don't call them back the next day. It's why everybody's going, oh, we'll call for 3 days and we just quit. But God forbid we let it go in the CRM and shut it down so there's not 700 days of tasks.
In the old days, it was
what can
stop
happen?
calling these people ups. They're not ups. They're people.
They're not ups.
Not
They're
Yeah,
not
for
leads.
sure.
They're
That's
people.
exactly right.
They are people.
Oh,
And if
gag
you're not
me
making
with
feel like they're not, it's a
spoon.
problem.
The digital
whole
retail
problem.
vendors, they don't have it right. They're still trying to do digital retail, right? To April's point, this is not digital retail. They don't want to consume the whole thing on. They want a digital shopping experience, right? We're totally went down the wrong path on this, but everybody's still trying to get that end to end. Oh, put the deal. When it's really about that experience all the way through, which is let's give them the opportunity to do what they want to do. And to the earlier point, I think Bobbie made too on the experience, it's like we then advertise all this great experience that they're going to get through this process. They spend an hour or two, online at home. They walk into the dealership and we look at them like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm ma'am.
Wait,
Let me look you up.
I have a CRM. It has notes in it.
Did you look at the Ford Explorer, sir? I'm like, it's a terrible process, right? So I think we have to change the words to change the result. And to April's things, we have to change the process inside the store and how the mindset is on how we look at it to a digital shop.
Bill, nobody is actually buying the cars online. I mean, a small percentage, you know. And I talked about
Even then, you still got to
They're
go
making
get
a
the car.
decision. They're
Yeah, you know,
answering
Bill.
questions. They're making
Bill,
a decision.
I said
online.
something at a digital dealer. I said, focus on what most of the people will do most of the time, as opposed to what some of the people will do some of the time.
It's
And
the
some
old
of the
bell
time
graph,
people
right?
will
They
buy
taught
a
us the old
car.
bell graph. You got 10% of the left that are always going to say yes, 10% on the right they're always going to say no. We need to worry about the 80% in the middle, right? And
Now,
there are
we don't
different
make
things that we can
processes
add
around
in
the
there.
exception.
No,
for the
I
rule.
mean,
Right.
but
I
of
think
course, you know, that's what we always go
the
to.
80% in the middle want the same experience in the showroom as online. So as long as there's consistency when it comes to price, whether it's the F&I product, the car itself, parts, or service, people will be fine.
I
Right?
want you to go, I want you to think about something for a second, real quick. Just hear me out for 1 second, okay? We have gotten marketing to such a magical point that it just magically serves up exactly what you're looking for when you're looking for it, because you had a conversation or didn't, or had a dream, and oh my God, how did that just come to me? And then we take that granular level magical approach that just seems crazy that customers are receiving subliminal messages through, and automation and drips through. And then we bring them into an old school conversation like, oh, you need a price? I'm going to need to see your trade. Oh, you need this? When can you come in? I work tomorrow 4 to 8. Can you come in 4 to 8? Can you come in 4 to 8? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't call you when it was convenient for you, but it's convenient for me, so I'm going to call you now. And then we're like, oh, our shit's not working. You cannot, this is just like a relationship. I tell everybody all the time, you've got to wife a customer up. You have to put a ring on it. If you tell me all this stuff on the first night, just so we can go out and hook up and I can meet you at the bar, it doesn't mean it's going to work out.
Pineapple,
or that
pineapple.
we're having pancakes in the morning. It doesn't. But it's just like a relationship. You're building a relationship with somebody, and everybody can say like, that's too far, but that's how we used to sell. And that's why we used to build books of business, and those books don't have to be gone. They can work hand in hand. If you stop treating people like one night stands every time you talk to them.
And if you need a less warm and fuzzy way to think about it, look at the profitability of your repeat and loyal customers. When you acquire a consumer, it costs you more, and they will not give you as much profit. And I know for those who are situationally successful or circumstantially successful right now, they've forgotten a little bit what it is to actually have to work for gross. But mind you, your loyal customers, even right now, would give you a bigger gross. But we don't focus on that because we're not married to the customer. And like I said, if you need a better way, think about the profitability to your dealership.
Jennifer says, take out the fluff of it. This is what it is.
Well, one car deal.
But this is for vendors and dealers. It's for both of them. It's for myself included to remember that too, as going through it. And Jennifer's right. If we need to take it to a bullet point basis because you don't understand one night stands versus putting a ring on it, I'll let Jennifer dumb it down for you.
Listen, it's
if
about
not, that's why I'm good at what I'm doing, because I'm going to teach you how to communicate.
Bobby, I'm being bombarded by pineapple advertisements.
Sean, what else have I left out?
I am sassy today. I did not start this way.
Sean, what else have I left out?
That it's time for dealers to get back to selling, right? For the last 2 years, it was just if people call, buy the inventory, things were changing, commissions, how they treat salespeople, et cetera. We've come back to a time that selling matters, and selling is about relationships, right? Make the customer feel good, follow up the normal process. A lot of the old school tactics the last year that work really well have been forgotten. Go back to loving your customer. Make sure they feel it. Give them a personalized approach. Know what their needs are. Get them what their questions answered as fast as possible. And just be a great human being. Nice people win. Let's go back to being extra nice.
Well, and people are out there going,
when did we ever
don't
stop
have to do
doing
that.
that?
What are you going to do when the dealership next to you
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
All the cars are going to flood the market. And what are you going to be that's different?
People never stop being nice. Dealers never stop being nice. I mean, where do we get that we're not nice? I mean, that's so many vendors and the bad vendors as opposed to the good vendors. The bad vendors have educated the consumer that dealers are crooks, dealers are criminals. Vroom into Super Bowl's got us hit them with battery chargers.
Did you see our good friends Carvana getting their dealer license suspended in the state of Illinois yesterday?
I saw that.
That's the
Absolutely.
least
They're
of their
so
problems right now.
straight and narrow.
Yeah, well, the run by convicted felon. What do you expect? But anyway, you look at the kind of people that have characterized dealers. We got vendors that, I go back to the old Carfax commercial where the salesman's lying to the consumer and lying until the little fox rats him out. All of a sudden the Carfax fox rats him out and exposes the salesman for being the liar that he is. And then we're spending money with Carfax to do that. How many people did TrueCar tell that we were criminals? How many of our vendors have told we're not criminals, and we've never been? We got customer friendly years ago. So stop saying we got to get back to. We got to get back to loving the people. That is not true.
We have to overcome that even more. It's the fact that is out there and gets pumped. And when it is that way, the point is we have to be that much better. Right. We're already very good as an automobile retail space. Number one when it comes to community and talking about the donations that we do. When the little leaguers come up are they going to Carvana for the handouts? No, they're coming to dealerships, and the dealerships are gladly doing it. I think Sean's point, without putting words in his mouth, is, hey, we just have to keep doing it more.
We got to stop saying we got to get back to loving the customers. We never stop. April Simmons. Let me ask April Simmons. Does your dealerships? How many dealerships do you have right now? How many
we have 13, and I'm going to tell you
13. And you beat the hell out of consumers and abuse them, don't you?
No, but we are failing a little bit, and I'm going to tell you where and why this is important. Customer service as a whole, as an industry, anywhere you go, has fallen. Right?
Yes.
And a lot of it has to do with the manpower. We don't have enough people to take care of the people. And I've seen this. But I'm going to go back to something Bill said and referencing Burger King. We are now starting to treat our customers as if we are Burger King, which means fast food. Get in, get out. We don't, that's where we're failing right now, and we need to do a better job.
Hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special orders don't upset us. All we ask is that you let us.
Yeah, there's a balance.
Don't let them shut you down. Finish your statement.
No, listen, I agree with what April is saying, and I could see it in her eye. I don't think it's that we as dealers need to be nicer and take better care of our customers. I think we as leaders and managers in the dealership need to do a better job with our teams who are in the trenches and showing them just taking good care of your customer will get you the grosses.
Legislate likability. How many times have I said that? Legislate likability. It's in all my books, all my speeches. Legislate likability.
Well, it's like if we cut the corners, I don't know how many times, especially right now with everyone so profitable, they're skipping a CNA. How are you going to do a good job for helping your customer if you don't know their needs? That's cutting corners, and that's not taking care of your customer. So I think that's how I interpreted what Sean said. And I sorry to jump in there, April, but I just
100%.
I had to get in there with you.
Yeah, Jim Thompson.
There's Jim Thompson with that word concierge. I have been advocating concierge, and I know Bill Wittenmyer does. I know Sean does. Concierge sales. And I am still saying we need to embrace digital retail up to the point where the customer wants to take it.
Exactly.
I like them to fill out their
agrees.
paperwork. I like them to fill out their paperwork online. I like them to select a vehicle online. Anything they can do online that shortens the in-showroom experience, that is great if we can concentrate on things in showroom, but they're still coming to the showroom, as Bill Wittenmyer pointed out. They're still coming.
Options, not obligations.
A different word then.
Options, not obligations. That's a great way to put it.
Like we just need a different word than digital retailing, because the OEM, the way they're selling digital retailing is not the way we're talking about it. So maybe we need to come up with a different word of what we consider digital retailing to be. Because I think it's different than what the OEMs are shoving down the dealer's throat.
Yeah.
And
explain that, April. Explain it, April. Explain it, April.
OEM are everyone's pushing digital retailing, but their thought process is truly that Amazon approach that customers are going online and they're going to buy cars A to Z. And
they're not.
Well, we know that.
They're not going to do that.
Don't. They hear the word digital retailing and it's put into one box of that's what it is. When we all know on this panel, that's not what it is.
It's a retention play if you actually want to make it work.
Right. So let's figure out a different word that we want to call it so that we can help dealers actually draw the line between the difference of what the OEM is selling us and what it actually is. I'm not. Well,
That was a good way to put it.
And don't
Because
let it
words
stop.
matter.
Don't stop with just a tool on your website, because if when you have that tool on your website or conversion widget or whatever we want to call it, because so few are an A to Z, buy the car 100% online. But what is your process after that? Because I'll tell you, and again, before tools were out there, I've sold a lot of cars online, shipped to the lower 48 before digital retailing was even a twinkle in its daddy's eye, whatever its daddy is. I don't know. But the thing of it is, think about it. I will tell you, I have templates that we give our message, whether it's video or text, or if it's, whatever, but it gives, what would you like to do next? And has the options for the consumer. So if it's a trade only lead, guess what? There's not a trade button, but there is a button to configure your payment, apply for financing, schedule a test drive right inside of my own CRM. So we get all distracted by these buzzwords, but we don't actually think about just retailing cars and taking care of our customers.
Listen, I'm gonna say something controversial, right?
Oh no, not
good.
Max.
I need a break, Max.
Here we go. We got 4 minutes.
I think, whatever you guys are saying is accurate, but I don't think any of us are getting through to the dealers, right? Because they are, like Ben Stuck says, in the profit coma, right? It's not about digital retail. They don't have the cars. Customers will find them. They will call them. They will beg them for a deal. This is the first time, I think, when the really smart dealers are opening their eyes to fixed stops and F&I, right? Because at this point, you cannot sell your way out of a problem. There's nothing to sell. So I think we should, shift the perspective and talk about digital experience or digital retail in parts and service and in F&I, more so than in sales itself.
Side note, if you have a fixed op strategy to drive more VINs through your service lane, then you don't have to go to the auction lane, people.
It's the best auction lane in the
world. People get ran over at the auction lanes this week, so that was rough.
That was actually the catalyst I was referring to at the start of this that I've been excited about, is that we're foundationally able to start putting more effort into the big stops and the finance areas in regards to the website, in regards to their process, in regards to their specific SEO, and doing all of these things that I've been pushing for forever, and nobody would, it was kind of like this. Now, because we have the time and the resources, it's actually happening in those lights.
The COVID pivot.
I'll take the catalyst right now. And
that COVID pivot is strong. We are seeing stuff. And look, like we talk on the show about we talk about the negative because we don't have time to give everybody a handshake and a hug and be like, good job. Instead, we got to be like, this is the stuff that's messed up. And this is what we're seeing. And it's coming from dealers that we're working with. It's coming from us as dealers. It's coming from people in the dealership. But just know there are hundreds of dealerships out there that are killing it during COVID. And I don't mean on growth. I mean on progress, on process, on high performance culture, who are putting the work in. And if you're not one of those dealers, your competitor probably is. So the message is get with it and do it. Don't be afraid to reach out with a question. We're very alpha and dominant. And so it comes off like, they're going to think I'm dumb. We're not going to think you're dumb. I think you're dumb if you don't pick up the phone or ask one of us a question. Then I think you're dumb. If you ask me a question, it's not dumb.
Okay, as we wind down the broadcast, Bill, did I get the troops fired up?
Well, I don't think that's ever a question in this realm. I mean, you get Jennifer and Bobby juiced up on a Tuesday, and it's ready to go. So, by the way, thank you for the Dole sponsorships, Sean Stapleton Dole sponsorships coming through.
I learned that at Digital Dealer. That was Jim's safe word, pineapple. So that was my only real contribution today.
I was Batman all week, so. Jim, I can't believe you missed my Batman session.
I'm sorry.
You were there when Greg Triple Dog dared me, and then all through the conference, everybody's like, "Why are you dressed like Batman?" I'm like, "Well, on the show, I got Triple Dog dared, so I had to."
What can I say?
Sad.
Yeah, I think Joel's out there somewhere looking for you.
I love Joel.
April, did we get it fired up today?
We got it fired up today. I appreciate everything we talked about today. I think it's very, very relevant. And to, Bobby's point, don't be afraid to ask. I think that's the biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask. And if you don't want to, do it in an open forum, message people on LinkedIn or, put it out there in the comments on the Alpha Dawg page or what have you. And those are great ways to get those conversations rolling.
I think Briggs needs to
don't
get
be
a
afraid to
cocktail
make
and
a
get her
mistake.
blood pressure down.
Listen, no,
I got her.
It's all good. My cheeks aren't even red, so we didn't get that.
Well,
intense.
I got to
Maybe
work
next
harder.
week.
I got to work harder.
Listen, I started in 2002 in this business as a woman. You're gonna have to work a lot harder to get me riled up.
And
I'm
now
just passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it's about profitability for me. And I think even in all of this, I think the number one slide that you presented was the shift in focus and priorities. Everything else ties into that. And if you're not making decisions tied to the overall profit and loss statement, not just one department, right? All departments, and they are connected, and you will have inventory to sell if you focus on service like April was talking about. And if you drive up service, you can, after you get your own reinsurance company, let's talk about how you can sell that.
We're running overtime by Sean. Sean, was it as good for you as it was for me?
It was awesome. I love the
Pineapple.
fiery. And the one thing I'll end with is if you're not pushing hard and trying to change and not making mistakes, you're not keeping up because things are changing faster than ever before. If your heart's in the right place, even mistakes will give you a good value.
Fantastic. Max, was it good?
It was phenomenal. I missed the last show, so it feels good to be back.
Fantastic. Bobby, thank you.
Absolutely. I know I get fired up, but it's because I care.
This is the Alpha Dawg running into 1 minute overtime. Everybody say goodbye to the audience.
Bye, guys.
Bye.